Welcome to Season 4 of the Agile brand with Greg Kihlstrom, where we discuss business agility through customer experience, employee experience, and digital transformation. I'm your host, Greg Kihlstrom. The Agile World podcast is brought to you by TEKsystems, an industry leader in full-stack technology services, talent services, and real-world application. For more information, go to teksystems.com. To read more about the topics discussed on this show, you can go to my website at gregkihlstrom.com and read my latest articles or get a copy of my latest book, Meaningful Measurement of the Customer Experience, now available on Amazon and other retailers. My name is Greg Kihlstrom, and I'm the host of the Agile Brand podcast. Organizational change of any kind requires a mix of people, processes, and technology. While the technology component is an important aspect of this mix, it is often people and processes that have the most opportunity to allow an initiative to succeed or possibly to fail. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of ensuring you're approaching the people and processes component of your change initiative in the right way. To help me discuss this topic, I'd like to welcome Sara Taheri, Chief Platform Owner for the Contact Center Transformation and Robotics at Prudential Financial. Sara, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on the show, Greg. It's great to be here.
Yeah, looking forward to talking about this topic with you. So why don't we start by you giving a little background on yourself, as well as what you're currently doing at Prudential Financial.
Sure. So the majority of my career, I've been in financial services working on digital transformation projects. Most recently, I joined Prudential as the Chief Platform Owner for Contact Center Transformation. And I think most people should be pretty familiar with Prudential. It's a company who, for over 145 years, has helped customers and institutions grow and protect their financial wealth. My current responsibilities as platform owner are transforming our contact center capabilities to one where we put even more focus on our customers, meet them where they are, and really offer them self-service capabilities, omni-channel journeys that thread their experiences from one channel to another should they choose to channel switch.
Great. Well, let's dive in here and start with a little context on the challenge that we're going to be discussing today. So can you describe the relationship of people, processes, and technology in a change initiative?
Sure. So that's also known as the three-legged stool. The combination of these three is really balanced. Technology is definitely a key aspect of change in digital transformation for sure, but without people and processes, sometimes digital transformation falls flat, or it doesn't have as much of an impact or adoption as it potentially could. So let me use the contact center world that I'm currently in as an example, because it's an experience that most of us can probably relate to, as we've all had to at some point or another call and get our questions answered or get service. From a technology perspective, we can build the most modern contact center that handles conversational experiences and provides customers with innovative features that really wow them. Ultimately, customers expect fast but reliable information and that their call is resolved the first time, and helpful, friendly agents that can help answer those questions. Technology is just one aspect, but our agent efficiency and their expertise is vital in providing that fantastic experience that our customers deserve. So, as we're looking at transforming our technical stack, we need to also look and evaluate at our processes, our talent, to make sure that we evolve and show the proper attention in all three categories. Let me share a recent example with you. Just the other day, I was on a call with a major hotel chain because I was charged for the same vacation package twice. So I called in, I had a good, IVR experience, was routed to this agent. But unfortunately, this person who was trying to service me wasn't equipped with the knowledge and the processes in how to handle this specific scenario. I feel bad for the agent because I could tell that she really was trying, put me on hold several times. And ultimately, I asked to speak with someone like their supervisor to help rectify this. Unfortunately, I got nowhere. My call lasted over an hour. The charge wasn't reversed, and I was told that I'd get a call back, which I'm still waiting for.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this is an example of where technology may not be enough, right? So knowledgeable agents and a proper process would really go a long way in improving that customer experience.
Yeah.
So when it comes to process, that may mean evaluating our training programs and making sure that we've got the proper training in place. We may look at our continuous learning and development programs, and look to see if we are carving out enough time for our reps to really learn and grow and adapt into this new technology that we've implemented so that they're equipped to answer questions should they be asked. We may want to alternatively look at some of our metrics and how we measure organizational metrics, because some of these metrics could be really outdated, and they may require a little bit of a reboot. If we're truly focusing on customers, we may decide that at this point, the call time is not what's important. We may want to look at reducing our call transfers or reducing our hold times as a metric of the future. Onto people, right? So people, as we know, are our biggest assets. And making sure that we make them a priority is really, really important in terms of being able to service our customers. Our attention should really be in how we can make their lives easier, because we all know if an agent's happy, they'll offer better service. So looking at, aside from hiring and retention and recognition programs, that are fairly typical, perhaps looking at improving the collaboration tools that these reps have readily available to them so that they can quickly communicate with their peers, so that they don't have to put a customer on hold for too long, and being able to effectively answer their questions by tapping into their peers with whether it be Teams or Slack or what have you, and improving the knowledge management tools at their disposal so that they can quickly find the answers that they're looking for. So I know I use a lot of contact center examples here, but these are examples of putting our agents first and reviewing our processes so that people, process, and technology together can really make a big impact.
Yeah, that's great. And I think we can all empathize with the hotel chain example and several times in our lives probably, but yeah, I can think of some recent examples there myself. Why do you think that the people and process part of the equation often get overlooked, while technology portion seems to be often thought of as a catch-all silver bullet, whatever you want to use? That technology is often thought of as, well, once we implement this software, this platform, everything will change and everything will be better. Why does people and process kind of get overlooked in that equation?
It's such a good point. I'm sure the answer is different on a case by case basis. My advice would be to really invest the time to bring the right talent to the program. Spend time whiteboarding and mapping out the new world that you want to operate in. Don't just look at the technology changes. Think about whether your processes and metrics should also change to support that transformation. And sometimes that could be, a change in mindset for people who have potentially worked in the same way for a number of years, right? You don't want to recreate something. You don't want to have digital transformation and just recreate everything you've already created. And that also includes challenging the status quo and continuously asking if we really need to keep working this way. And then really thinking about our talent and making sure that we have the right team and the right talent in place to get us to where we need to go. And if not, what do we need to do to get there? Potentially, what change management training or programs do we need so that we can transform our enterprise to be successful? So to kind of go back to the question that you said in terms of, why do we think technology is a silver bullet and sometimes people in process are overlooked? I think it just goes to poor planning and not really putting the time and the effort at times. Sometimes it just gets overlooked. And if we start putting that at the forefront from the very beginning, hopefully we can address all three aspects rather than just one.
What are some of the aspects of change initiatives involving people and processes that tend to either cause short or long-term challenges?
Greg, you're an Agilist, so I think what I'm about to say will likely resonate. With the shift to Agile and iteratively releasing new features, Agile teams work on implementing capabilities in in an incremental fashion. So we no longer live in a world where we just one day turn off our old system and start on the new system the next day. This means that at times our old technology solutions and new platforms are working in parallel. And our people have to toggle or work in multiple environments as their technology solutions gradually shift into this new world. So this, of course, creates sometimes short and sometimes longer term challenges, in my opinion. Maybe someone new that we hire has to learn to operate in both that legacy system in addition to the new system that we're creating for a period of time, which will make talent acquisition and onboarding even more lengthy and difficult. And it can really cause some hiring challenges as well, as you may be looking for different skill sets in the legacy world versus the new world that you're creating. So you're ultimately ending up looking for this unique person that can operate in both, and sometimes that's harder to find, especially in this environment.
Yeah, and I think that's a good segue to switch gears just a little bit and talk about what leaders and managers can do to help enable more productive and lasting change. So, what would your advice be to that leader or manager that's maybe at the very beginning of a change initiative that, they're heavily reliant on technology, but they know that it's going to, or they should know, but they probably know at this point that it's going to require coordination of people and processes in order to be successful.
Yeah, it's important for leaders to set the business vision and the goals they want to achieve before selecting the technology that they think will be, to use your words, silver bullet in solving their challenges. I think having them be intentional and explicit that they are looking at any and all options to make the change sometimes gives permission to team members to think differently. Sometimes you just really need to be explicit and say, any and all options on the table. And having that business vision will make sure that whatever is being built keeps that North Star front of mind, whether that vision is to offer, I don't know, fastest service, best healthcare, innovative tech, whatever that may be. And I'm just making it up here, but just to give you an example, if a business vision is to have the shortest, fastest, most reliable quoting software out there, then leaders should really make sure that this business vision becomes the mantra, right? Is constantly repeated and instilled so that every team member continues to think about that throughout their entire process, whether they're designing or building and testing, and challenging themselves and constantly asking themselves, are we building the right technology, the right process with that business vision in mind? I would say the other thing is to offer the right support players to the project and make sure that the right people are leading and are a part of this initiative to help really keep that business vision in mind. And I would lastly think that another one that would be helpful here is to making sure that the right analysis is performed to evaluate any opportunities for change, whether that be the people, the process, or the technology pillars that we talked about. So we're not focusing just on one of them.
We talked a little bit from the perspective of starting out an initiative. There's a lot of organizations that are, let's say, midway through, whether that's the beginning, middle, or end middle. There's a lot of organizations that are just, they're going through this process, and perhaps they're not going 100% according to plan. So, what can a leader do to help increase morale? Because that can often be an issue when things are not going, or feeling at least like they're going well, and how can a leader keep team members motivated in the midst of all this change?
What makes a great team is, making sure that not only are team members highly skilled, committed, empowered, but really can work well together, right? Having sometimes when you don't have the right team or the right leadership support, or even an environment where there's constant change, things may not go as planned. I think in addition, especially when it comes to software development, we know that change is usually the only constant.
Right.
So There's a number of different ways we can help increase morale. Some that come immediately to mind are the age-old complaint of avoiding dictating a timeline to the team. Share your highest priorities instead, and let the team work through when they can get an MVP or a future iteration released. They're the ones that are closest to the work, and that believing in them and trusting in them is something that leaders can do more. Offer support would be another suggestion. Like listen, right? A lot of times leaders are absent and they're not listening to certain cues, and that could also be dismotivating. I'll give you a few others that come to mind, whether it be throughout my experiences that I've experienced or just things that I've always wanted to avoid. Is celebrating failures. Celebrate failures, missteps. We know that failures are an integral part of team formation. If a team is in constant fear of making a mistake, they're just never going to work their best. So being able to offer your support really comes a long way. I think another one for me is making quick decisions. Sometimes we get into this analysis paralysis mode and, we fear making decisions, but a good leader needs to be there to help remove roadblocks. And also, I think the other thing that's really important here is having a process for escalations, right? If something doesn't go well, how do we escalate this in a meaningful way? I personally am all about recognition. I know that each person likes to be recognized differently, but most, if not all, want to know that they're working on meaningful work and that their efforts are known and recognized. So in addition to celebrating failures that I talked about, really recognizing people and celebrating the wins and the people just create such a much more engaging, collaborative environment that would make me want to stay.
We've spent a bit talking from the leader and management perspective, and that's a lot of people listening to this show. But just from what if you aren't a leader or manager? What can any team member, regardless of their role or title or things like that, what can they do in order to help their teammates and as well as the overall project they're working on to be more effective?
Honesty and transparency are two big ones for me. So being part of a transformation, it's really important to be honest and transparent about all aspects of the initiative without hiding anything. I always want to hear from the team and know if they're confident that what we're taking on within a sprint or within a quarterly program increment is something that is attainable. If not, I want to be able to discuss it with them and hear their concerns and understand what we may need to deprioritize or take off the plate. Not having that honest and transparent conversation is only going to affect everybody. Another effective strategy is being open to respectfully changing one another. There is definitely something to be said when someone speaks up and provides a differing point of view. And just the idea of being able to raise a point gets the creative juices of everyone else flowing. And the next thing you know, you're either on board in making the change, or maybe the team has come up with yet another creative way of how to solve for that. And sometimes some people just shy away from being able to speak up, and I don't know. I certainly don't have that problem, but I do think that is something that I would advise teammates to do, because it's super helpful.
Yeah. Well, last topic here. You brought up Agile earlier. That's always appreciated on the Agile brand podcast here. But let's dive in a little bit more. How realistic is it to plan a change initiative from start to finish? Where do Agile approaches, iteration, and adjustment really come into play?
With Agile, I like to say you create a framework and a roadmap, but those plans can, and more importantly, will change as priorities change. And it's important to be nimble and welcome change and know that it's a part of the process. it's important to remember that iterating is a big part of Agile. So being able to roll something out, get feedback from customers, those people who are really using it, is really, really important so that we can build the right thing. And as a result of just that alone, that means we will get unexpected changes and iterations. They're just going to be a natural part of the process that wasn't potentially planned for. That's my thought.
How can a leader make these adjustments without causing the team involved to feel like there's a loss of direction? The term pivot, or even just working in sprints and doing slight course corrections under the wrong communication and wrong relationship, it can often feel like, oh wow, why do we keep changing course or something? Obviously, those of us in Agile know when done well, it's the right way to do things, and to use information wisely and make decisions based on information. But how can a leader kind of mitigate that for those that really just aren't used to working in that kind of environment?
Earlier we talked about honesty and transparency, especially for me being big ones. I think that's the same with leaders, right? Honesty is always the best policy, and letting your teams understand the why goes such a long way here. Let them be a part of the solution where it's possible. And I'm sure that, amazingly creative ideas and even a willingness for the team to accommodate when they know that they are empowered and in the know goes a long way. And I think if done properly, the team will typically delight you in ways that you've never thought before. So just be honest with them, explain the why of why this change is happening or why a new priority has come up. That really, in my mind, avoids a lot of the negative thoughts and churn that happens on the sidelines.
Great. Well, Sara, thanks so much for joining the show. This has been great talking with you. For those listening, what's the best way for them to keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Greg. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so I'm happy to connect with folks through that vehicle.
Wonderful. Well, again, I'd like to thank Sara Taheri, Chief Platform Owner for the Contact Center Transformation and Robotics at Prudential Financial, for joining the show. Thanks for listening to the Agile Brand with Greg Kihlstrom. Talk with you next week. Thanks again for listening to the Agile Brand with Greg Kihlstrom podcast, brought to you by Tech Systems. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to subscribe on your podcast channel of choice and leave us a rating so that others can find the show more easily. You can access more episodes of the show at www.theagilebrand.show. To get a copy of my latest book, Meaningful Measurement of the Customer Experience, visit my website at gregkihlstrom.com. Until next week, stay agile.